and Fitz. And together, like Tron, it's Golic and Fitz, the most creatively be with you next 30 minutes. Today we're getting into some, I'm going stroll down memory lane here. We're going to get into some pro wrestling today. That's going to happen. We got a lot we're going to dive into, but first let's acknowledge the mistake that's at the top of the show, Mike, as we have asked everybody, possibly the greatest WWE, rivalry of all time. This is quarantine, buddy. This is what happens. Spelling's hard.
This is what happens. Spelling's hard. For us, talking's hard every day, so it seems only right that we'd find our way into this in now week 2 of doing an internet show mid-quarantine and all this. So we ask for everyone's patience because, my God, we're just like the rest of you guys. We're trying to scrape it by here right now.
So with that spirit, look, we had a weekend, and if anybody's new to this, we're here Monday through Friday. So you had a weekend where you were going to give us little John Mayer flavor. You went through the 64-song bracket. You even texted me at one point just to fire me up a little bit of John Mayer. So what came out as your winning song? That's a real question here.
Yeah, so your eventual national champion of the John Mayer bracket ended up being Slow Dancing in a Burning Room. It was the number 1 overall. Truly, I think in of Mayer, Continuum is an album that stands alone and stands the test of time, and so it is only right. That forget if I think indoctrinated into the Church of Mayer.
It really captivated you, Mike.
Yeah, so this weekend, Sunday night, Jerry Maguire, for the first time in a long time, was going back. One of the things that struck me was Rod Tidwell's stat line, the Lion Axe. Rod Tidwell, who in his season prior, so 1995, with the Arizona Cardinals, Rod Tidwell 1,500 yards. I didn't get a touchdown number on that, but those numbers were at the time greater than some of the likes of Chris Carter, paling only the great Jerry Rice. Bets on himself, plays on worth 4 years that averages me and Adam Amin, who I was watching the movie with by a Netflix party, work this out. But I don't know, Jason. That's the other part. Jerry's former agency, BMI, was taking 25% for marketing deals. I mean, all of it seems movie where
Can we acknowledge, I mean, you and Adam have been watching some interesting films, right? You've been sort of deep diving on these Netflix watch parties. Like, how are you picking what movie? Because you went Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles the other day. Now you're in on Jerry Maguire. Like, who's making the selection?
We pick them out of a hat. Us and Heather, our friend Heather Lee, who's one of our fine producers here at ESPN, each got to pick 3 movies. We put them in a hat, and we pick every. While I was doing, internet was doing its normal thing. Latest viral trend going around as we've been pairing, the ultimate pairings of history based on your birth date and stuff like that. Did you see your Corona name is now a thing, or your quarantine name?
So I'm all in for this because anytime we can do a Corona quarantine nickname, that's going to be fun. Now, it gets a little troublesome, though, because we're supposed to take Mike, what?
Well,
Cashew Lion and Jelly Bean Bulldog, I'm definitely not the one kicking anybody's butt.
No, but I do like the idea coming to you live from Golic and Fitz here. It's Cashew Lion and Jelly Bean Bulldog from now on. So this feels like, you're right, though. The tag team is the perfect segue in all this, because I know you're excited about this, Fitz. And I'm excited because in addition to watching Jerry Maguire, I've also started the last couple of Sunday nights watching WrestleMania reruns on ESPN. We've been airing old WrestleManias, and I was watching them last night. I'm brand new to this, so I'm learning about all these people for the first time. You were a wrestling fan back in like the 80s and early 90s. Like, you've really been doing this for a while. So I'm coming to you for knowledge here. I'm saying teach me because I want to learn.
Well, this manageable TV situation looks good. I know his mom's going to get him the pay-per-view. Therefore, we have to be as what happened. So seeing these WrestleManias that we've been showing on ESPN is cool. I just need him to go. Get the 30th anniversary of Hulk Hogan to that moment and just seeing these icons come in and do the what seemed impossible. And you didn't really get caught up when I was a kid on watch with the best sports like soap opera you could ever watch with these huge iconic muscle men. Mike, it was a part of life growing up for me as a kid.
Yeah, and so this is what I want to lean into, because like there's the classics, and then there's like, I watched the replay of WrestleMania 32 last night. It's like, that was fun for me. After that, I met The New Day, which I had no idea. A bunch of guys that came out of a box of all playing to the things that I enjoy in life. But then you had the interaction with some of the classics. You had come Shane McMahon in a Hell in a Cell match that was ended brilliantly, but it reminded me, like, I could watch The Undertaker's entrance for days on end. You had all these great things in it, but I wanted a little history, and we saw in that one last night, you had The Rock, you had Stone Cold come out, and so thought we'd lean into like something that makes sports great fit. Like, can you educate me on like great WWE rivalries? Because I know none of the background stories of these people.
Okay, so when you talk theme music, and look, we tried to go in, and I'm leaning in sort of on my childhood, right? So I'm looking at the best rivalries from when I was a kid. And you talk about theme music and intros, it leads to one of those rivalries because nobody had a better intro when I was a kid than Macho Man. To me, so I was a Macho Man guy, not a Hulk guy. Like, everybody loved Hulk Hogan. No, I wanted Macho Man. And Macho Man used to bring Miss Elizabeth, his wife, right? He'd bring her in, up on his shoulder. He'd carry her around like she was, they played Pomp and Circumstance. It was this moment. Like, Macho Man was incredible. So the Macho Man Hulk Hogan rivalry when I was a kid was epic because it became this like sort of like, are you a Michael Jordan person or a LeBron person? You can't be both to eat your vitamins. No. I mean, Macho Man had the better closer to me. He got up on the top rope, flying elbow drop, lands on somebody. That's, if we're three rivalries from when I was a kid, Macho Man and Hulk are definitely.
You know, I didn't grow up with this rivalry. Obviously, these two characters are larger than life in so many ways, so I've heard of both of them. But I messed this up bad one time. So Hulk was involved in the once Darius Rucker concert, I ended up at a casino with Darius, Brooke Hogan, and Jimmy, and a random assortment of people ever. But over the course of that, I had been a little bit overserved, and I was talking to Brooke, and I said, oh, man, yeah, oh, yeah. Like, I gave her the Macho Man, oh, yeah, thinking, looking at her, talking about her father, the Hulk, and she looks at me and goes, that's Macho Man Randy Savage. What the hell is wrong with you? And I immediately tripped over, fell backwards, and almost fell completely on my face in the casino around her. So my interaction with this rivalry could not have gone worse.
That is spectacular. That might be one of my favorite stories of all time, just because you put it out there. Like, you're putting your, and that's the thing. And we'll see this from the comments that we get on this conversation. Like, wrestling fans, you and I work a lot in the college football space. We talk about the passion of college football fans. Man, there is no more passionate fan base, more educated fan base, more into it fan base than to their sport than wrestling fans. Like, sports entertainment fans are so deep dive. You screw something like that up, you might as well just like shut your Twitter down for the rest of your life because they're never going to let you back on.
They have been very welcoming so far. As I have entered into pro wrestling Twitter on Sunday nights, they have wrapped me in their loving arms. So this is all helpful. This is all education. So you got Macho Man and Hulk Hogan up on the first one. Who's your next WWE rivalry?
So my next great rivalry, and this one's easy, Shawn Michaels versus Bret the Hitman Hart. So I will tell you this fun story about Shawn Michaels. This is way too deep dive, Mike, but we're just going to take you down story line. When I was a really little kid, you know, I was in Vegas as a little kid, and I was in an orchestra when I was a really little kid that rehearsed at a casino called the Showboat, and it was a college-age orchestra, and so everybody there was like a prep orchestra that toured and won all these awards. So it was this college-age orchestra, and I was 8 years old, and I was the concertmaster. So I was the first chair in this orchestra as a little kid. Well, back then, there was a wrestling federation called the AWA, and the AWA used to do their big events at the Showboat. So every month, they would come in and they would just give the orchestra tickets. So me being the little kid in the orchestra, all the college kids being cool, they would let me go. So Shawn Michaels had a tag team partner back then, Marty Jannetty, and they were the Midnight Rockers in AWA. And they were like the coolest thing in the world. They were like these two, like they were high flying. They were always jumping off of everything. They were doing tricks you never thought anybody could do. They were, when you were 8 years old, they were like larger than life, rock star cool. So my dad and I would go every time to the Showboat. And there was a period where ESPN Classics used to play some of those old AWA matches late at night. And there are tons of those where you can look like 2 rows, 3 rows back, and you'll just see me there sitting there with my dad, like watching these old wrestling matches. So I was a mega Shawn Michaels and Marty Jannetty fan. And then they sort of glowed up. They went to the WWF at the time. They became the Rockers instead of the Midnight Rockers. They were this great tag team. They have a breakup, kind of like, Axel and Slash. They break up. Shawn Michaels goes on to be hugely successful and then gets into one of the most iconic rivalries ever of WWE against Bret Hart. So for me, it was always bittersweet because I'm watching Shawn Michaels and I want to root for him, but he was also super successful and broke up the tag team. It's like breaking up the band that you like. I can't root for him anymore because he's no longer part of it. So I was always I was a Bret Hart guy in this rivalry because Shawn Michaels, he broke up my favorite tag team.
This is all becoming more and more obvious as to why it was so appealing for you, because it's like being in the band. There's just a few more body slams in here right now that you were associated with. But the image, like I really need us. Hopefully we can go somewhere in the ESPN vaults at some point as we go along and find a young Jason Fitz fresh off of just stroking the violin for everyone to see, going and sitting in the crowd. Dear God.
Yeah. Bowl cut, just sitting there. Watching the wrestlers come down. Oh, yeah, I'm sure. A bowl cut all day, bowl cut. There was no attention paid on the hair. Come on, Mike. Now, in
an era where people are cutting their hair at home right now in the middle of the quarantine, I feel like no one will be able to empathize with you more now than the current public.
I'm going to speak your love language here, okay? There was one thing that made the WWF when I was cool, WWE now, but when I was a kid, it made it so much cooler than the AWA, and that was the live snacks, okay? See, because when you went to the showboat for the AWA matches, they were okay. In the late 80s, early 90s, WWE came out with these ice cream bars that were like ice cream sandwiches on a bar, and they were and then they had your favorite wrestlers imprinted on them. Mike, turn your phone off, Mike. We're doing an important professional show. So so you got these ice cream bars, and it would have like Macho Man on the ice cream bar. And I'm telling you, they were like ice cream cookie sandwich things. They were and then they started selling them in stores. As a fat kid, man, I mean, I was all in on WWE ice cream bars. You missed out on that, my friend.
I was going to say, now that I know that you guys were handing out snacks over here, I feel like some sort of secret was kept from me. And I have to wonder why the people that were close to me that claimed to be my friends weren't alerting me that this was going on and that snacks were being sold. So thank you for enlightening me years too late. I could still, I guess, go out and just buy ice cream to kind of console myself through this. So all roads lead to ice cream still.
Well, you're welcome for that. Now, the distant third on my ranking of top three, and I did this more to Trey Wingo style. I started at the top, went down. But my distant third is The Rock and Stone Cold. And look, The Rock and Stone Cold going at it gave us some incredible matches. And I think if you're my age, that's sort of where my recency ends for great rivalries. The problem is The Rock had so many great rivalries that it's a little difficult to figure out which one goes where. And I also felt weird putting together this top three list and not putting some sort of Mankind Mick Foley representation in here. But years wrestling was digging deep into its past to find its current stars. This felt like, part of the new movement when you had Stone Cold and The Rock come in. So to me, that's a distant third on them, but they gave us some legendary matches.
Yeah, see, now this is getting into, and I think this was always sort of the case, but this is the area where for me, when I was growing up, because I was born in 89, so like this era was during my childhood where the WWE, these stars crossed over as like the larger than life guys. Now, The Rock obviously went on to cross over in ways that no one could have foreseen into becoming one of the biggest movie stars in the world in addition to this. But Stone Cold, like these guys were a built-in part of pop culture when I was a kid. I mean, hell, you couldn't go to a college party and not see someone Stone Cold a couple of beers when I was there. So that was kind of something that we all did.
You make that point, and I think that's when things have crossed over. Like when you talk about each of these examples, when you talk about what Hulk Hogan meant to, everybody in the 80s, it was about iconic things that were part of pop culture. Stone Cold and The there's a whole generation now that grows, like, think about him as so much more. It's really an incredible accomplishment. A lot of wrestlers tried, but and you were reminded that maybe they're good at improv, but they're bad at acting, right? Like when it comes to actually being in movies, most of them weren't great. The Rock has found that niche to be spectacular. I'll give John Cena some credit also. I think Cena's become really a great, it shows you that new wrestling has found a way to transition far better.
It also shows you that there's a lot of roles for being really, really jacked and handsome in life, and that The Rock has found the niche of being able to play the same guy wearing the same tan t-shirt in every movie that he's in. And I applaud him for this, for muscle-bound people everywhere. And I'm lumping myself in the category with The Rock unjustly because he is way more jacked than I am in a lot of this. But
hey, let's not ask for range. Like, you know my debate on, like, I don't know, Adam Sandler, for example, and range. Like, we don't ask for range from most of our actors. So they keep giving us the same thing. We're good with that.
I am waiting for The Rock's coming out party like Adam Sandler's Uncut Gems, where all of a sudden we're going to have to reckon with The Rock being nominated for an Oscar and somehow explain that to our youth.
One thing that is a true story, I had reconnected with wrestling a few years ago because I have some friends that are big fans. And when I was in Nashville at the time, one of my buddies had great seats to a Raw event. So we went and we checked it out. And I was actually stunned. And I've said this to a lot of people. At the time, I was still touring the music. I actually left that night with a page of notes on how they deliver the fan experience live and what should be replicated, all the way down to the fact that, like, during the commercial breaks, they would bring up merch on the screens and they'd be like, hey, here's how you order it in the app and we can have it in a bag ready for you, or we can bring it direct to your seats. Like, that you had all these ways that you could do innovative things to sort of go through and still spend money, but not have to go anywhere. And then after the event was over, they did, dark match where everybody came out for this massive Royal Rumble. And as each wrestler was eliminated from the match, they would just think of the WWE or wrestling in general. The way they treat their fans and the way they do the and I have really, even if you're not checked in anymore.
Yeah, well, it's going to be really interesting this coming weekend. WrestleMania 36, we know it was filmed in their train, it was shot in their training because of everything going on with COVID-19 right now. So the WWE is going to be the first, quote unquote, live sporting event to really test the bounds of what you can do right now, given the constraints of this virus. So still finding a way to get to the people, which I guess might be the best testament to what you just brought up.
Well, and again, if you're going to get the app and the pay-per-view for WWE, you might as well, Mike. Here's a little life advice: just go back before you watch the new WrestleMania and just watch like 1, 2, 3, 4. Just watch the first 4 WrestleManias back to back to back. You're welcome. Like, it's just a different era of fun, sort of kitschy storytelling, but there's just a charm to it that, now, while wrestling's got much more physical, much more athletic, and as we all know, much bloodier through all of it, much more violent through all of it. I don't know. You go back and watch some of the old stuff. There's a charm. I just want once. I want to be Hulk. You can be Andre the Giant. We'll see if I can slam.
I'd rather come out of a box of Bootios with you and shake it like the New Day. Let's go.
That is the most cashew lion and jelly bean bulldog thing ever to come out in any sort of a cake. Okay, so obviously every day we like to break down different sports stuff, but we like to end with our favorite portion. It's quick fits as we go through some different things, have a little fun, and get you caught up on some of the things you might have missed. It starts with Bartolo Colon. Did you see this? Living his best life. He drew this up. He's now a two-sport athlete as you watch him playing a little pool here. Oh, look at that. Oh, and he just throws the stick down with some level of absolute arrogance to get it. Mike, are you a good pool player?
No, I'm a terrible pool player, but man, I am always a big proponent of celebrating big people doing wonderful things. And I mean, this man's nickname was literally Big Sexy. He is the biggest, roundest, sexiest version of us, and he's showing that he can do everything. Big people are the best athletes that the world has to offer, and Tolo's no exception.
Yeah, I'm a terrible pool player. Look, and it doesn't matter how much I try to get better at it. Like, I've resorted to the spot now where I try and play like odd pool things like bumper pool where they have the little like things all over. I'll kick your butt at air hockey.
All right. I watched James Harrison break an egg with his bicep.
Might be whetting our appetite Mickelson and Tiger Woods could said
the things that we have to abide by are, I think, going to give us the closest to what we actually that. This could get us a lot closer to that. Obviously, the trash talking with social distancing might be a tough combination, but access. So I'm all for this. We need anything right. Maybe
here they keep the distancing on it. I'm all in for that, Mike. Like on the line. God, we're so desperate for content at this point.
it was weirdly the internet really well. Like flexibility, I did not imagine a man of his age, the level of fitness having selfie videos all the time. So I feel like he's uniquely equipped to even know and prod my dad. Like, he's a sweet man, but if you pose that question to him, he would have no idea.
Any content and everywhere you live stream. Actually, sorry.